Oh,
I remember that.
so good morning, everybody. So yeah, lovely. Can't believe time's flown by since our last meeting, but yeah, here we are in the springtime. It's good to see you all. So yeah, I mean, I've noticed, we're all so busy. The numbers seem to have got smaller at these meetings because they are more kind of just kind of share a bit of information and a bit of support because we're all working in the same area. So it's not there's no particular agenda as those of you that have been here before. But yeah, and obviously sometimes some people are too busy to kind of fit that in. So what we'll do, just quickly go around the table for those that might not have been for a while and just remind everybody, of your role, who you work for, who you are, who you work for. It shouldn't take too long as there aren't huge numbers with us today. Right, so just going by my screen, I've got Lisa Jane in the top. Do you want to just say hello?
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so Lisa Jane, Macmillan Citizens Advice benefit caseworker, based sort of in the Wye Forest area for the Worcestershire part of Worcestershire. So that's me.
Lovely, thank you, Lisa Jane. Go around. I've got Vicky next on my screen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Vicky Tomlinson.
Sorry, I've got two Vickies, but go on, Vicky Tomlinson.
I'm sorry.
Go on, Vicky Tomlinson. You started, yeah.
And I'm Citizens Advisor at St Richard's Hospice, working alongside Lynn.
So, say hi, Lynn.
Hi. I have to introduce myself now.
Yeah, two submitters later, kind of like a job share, isn't it? So yeah, okay. And other Vicky from Citizens Advice, yeah.
Oh, good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's Vicky Connaughton. I'm Macmillan Benefits Advisor with Citizens Advice in Hereford. I work with Ruth Hawkins, my teammate, and other caseworker, and also Joe Appleby, who's our case support worker. Do you want me to say any more than that now, Sonia, or are we just doing intros?
Yeah, that's lovely. Just an introduction for the faces that might not have been seen for a little while, because different people run on different. So yeah, that's lovely. Thanks, Vicky. Andrew.
Hello, I'm Andrew. I'm one of the Macmillan Benefits caseworkers for Worcestershire. I cover based in Worcester, and I cover the south of Worcestershire.
Lovely, thank you, Andrew. And then Anne Rendell.
Morning, everyone. Anne Rendell, and I'm the Financial and Welfare Advisor, a bit like Citizens Advice at Kemp Hospice in Kidderminster, covering the Wye Forest.
Thank you, Anne. Sharon?
Hi, I'm Sharon Johnson. I work for Worcester City Primary Care Network. So we support all the GP practices in Worcester City. Before this, I did work at St Richard's Hospice, so I have spoken to those two lovely ladies previously.
Yeah.
I worked in the Living Well team, so yeah, so I'm doing this now. I love what I do. We do cancer prevention. That's primarily my role.
Oh, hi, Sharon. I recognise you. Hello.
Thanks, Sharon. Okay, and Rachel.
Rachel at the Hereford Hospital Cancer Information and Support Service.
Rachel. I can see Jeanette's on the meeting, but I don't know. I haven't got your camera, so I don't know if you can hear me, Jeanette. Are you to introduce?
Yeah, I just literally joined. I have turned my video on, but oh, there we go. Delayed response. Are we doing introductions? Sorry, I've just literally joined.
Yeah, literally just hi, who you are, introduction. Yeah.
Jeanette Howes, Operations and Delivery Manager for Hereford and Worcestershire ICB. Apologies for being a few moments late, but I've literally just come off the last call and just literally joined this one. So apologies for being a few moments late.
Oh, thank you very much. Lovely to have you with us, Jeanette. Okay, so yeah, as normal, we'll just sort of get a picture of what's going on in all of our services. There's a couple of you that need to leave a little bit earlier, so we can start with those folk. Um, so yeah, but I know Lynn and Vicky, you've got to leave a bit earlier. So how have things been in your service? What are you finding generally, sort of work-wise, referral-wise? Yeah.
Well, yeah, shall I? There's been since April the 1st, there has been quite a lot of changes that have actually, well, we've been going through a transformation period, consultation period in the last few months. So, but it sort of went live, the transformation went live on the 1st of April. So services very much changed and the way of referrals very much changed from the 1st of April. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think how I can best describe these changes. So leading up to the 1st of April, everything has been quite pressured for all the teams here, knowing how the transformation was going to work. And I would let me think about how it's best to describe it. The changes, how would you say that an overall change has been the referral method coming in has probably changed, is the big change. Patients and families can refer themselves and they can do that through an advice and guidance line. Is it useful for me to say the number here, the telephone?
What you can do, I'll send out any notes that if you send them on to me, Vicky, what I usually do is send out any information after the meeting, so that will be so for partners here that are in the meeting, if they've got somebody, a client they think could use your services, sort of how would they then how would they now go about that? Would the patient have to self-refer or what?
They don't have to self-refer. They can be referred by a healthcare professional. Individuals can refer by ringing the advice and guidance line, or they can access a form on the website that will allow them to self-refer as well on the St Richard's website. When they phone the advice and guidance line, there will be admin staff, there's nurses on that line, and that could be how they can refer in. They can also attend the Wellbeing Cafe, which is a drop-in cafe that takes place once a week on a Wednesday, and no referral or no appointment is needed, and they can just make their way into St Richard's Hospice, and they will be met by staff who can provide one-to-one guidance there. So you've got almost the advice line and you've got the Wellbeing Cafe that can access, people can then access services here. And that's the Wellbeing Cafe is held in the Green, which is where the cafe is, so that again there's staff from Living Well team manage the Wellbeing Cafe, but they often call upon family support, will be available as well to go down there if there is a client that wants to speak to us with regards in financial issues. So that the other change, all the services, hospice at home or the Living Well team or the community nurses have amalgamated, so they're one big team. I think it's just that it's all very new actually at the moment, so people trying to access services at the moment, it's sort of still very much finding its feet. For families who want bereavement or emotional support, the family support line now have their own referral line, and they have a access form on the website as well. So yeah.
That's helpful. So obviously that's a kind of the hospice could give support in various different ways, isn't it? As you say, emotional support, living well, and yourself with the financial, focusing on welfare benefits. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I think I would add to that is, as we understand it, for a patient to come to CAB and have support from us, they still have to be a patient of St Richard's in some format. So they have to have come through the service in some way, whether it be the Living Well Cafe or the line that they've referred
Yes,
in.
they can't ring you as a
patient.
citizens advisors separately. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So lovely. So any questions for Lynn and Vicky about St Richard's services? Thank you. Yes, I hope it starts to settle down soon for you ladies. It's obviously quite quite a big change there with your structure. So thank you for that. Thank you. So Andrew, you need to go relatively early. So the view from the Macmillan team in Worcester, what would you like to update us with?
Well, I think I suppose the main thing is sort of as a result of some absence, we're now down an admin worker for half the week.
Yeah.
So we're sort of trying to adapt to that by, I think, mostly partly limiting referrals, sending more people to the national helpline, just to try and avoid us being overwhelmed, really. But other than that, trying to keep it all going as usual. So still doing all the same advice, benefit checks, PIP appeals, whatever.
We're obviously trying to look at resources at Worcester Citizens Advice Office, trying to get replacement for the admin worker. So we'll try and get that in place as soon as we can. It's been various different resource issues over the last few months, which has affected the service, but hopefully we'll start to iron it out. And thank you to Andrew for sort of, they're all sort of trying to find a way to get these clients helped. But are you finding any particular queries at all, Andrew? Any things that any questions about the new PATS? I was wondering if people would be asking about the new benefit changes that the government doesn't affect cancer patients quite as much because they've got quite a clear diagnosis. But you finding anything around the different sorts of queries since we last had a meeting?
No, I haven't had any come through about that yet. I'm interested in that because one of the changes they've announced is that you can't get LCWRA element without a PIP award.
Yeah.
But seeing how they're going to match that, because normally you'd give anyone with chemotherapy or radiotherapy an LCWRA element eventually. So we'll have to see what happens. But the patients haven't really been asking about that yet. I have noticed more people asking about attendance allowance. I don't know if that's because the information centres are sending more people through to us with that query, or if they're hearing about it themselves. I'm not sure, but that's sort of the only real difference, I think.
Yeah, I think generally there's been particularly for some of the council departments, there's been a little bit of a push to try and get people of pension age, trying to maximise, since the winter fuel allowance was taken away, trying to maximise the pension credit. And then, of course, if they get attendance allowance, they're getting further pension credit. So, it might be some of that is sort of raising the profile of attendance allowance as well. But, okay, thank you, Andrew. Okay, I've got Anne Rendell next. What's going on at your service, Anne?
Pretty much the same. I was quite shocked that we haven't had more inquiries about the impact on the benefits, the changes and the announcements. But having said that, a majority of my applications go through supported with an SR1. So it doesn't really impact my clients that much. And the model here at Kemp is very similar to St Richard's in the sense that my clients come in and they've got to be connected to the hospice in order to access my services, whether it's through bereavement, or it might be that the family of a patient that I've supported, and that their connection with Kemp has to be their access to my services. But a little bit like St Richard's, they can refer themselves in anyway, with a life-limiting illness via the website. We've got referral forms on the website, or they can even self-refer over the telephone. Not necessarily, I was interested in your help and advice, your advice line. That sounds really interesting. But I haven't had a massive rush on a particular benefit, or it's been business as usual. I've seen an awful lot more of interest in the digital legacy help and advice.
Okay.
So
people having difficulty accessing the bereaved partner having difficulty accessing the
and it's something that people I think are becoming more aware of, or I'm trying to make them more aware of before end of life, because it's something that people, I hadn't thought of that, so digital legacy has been something that I've been very busy on, if you like, trying to help people and educate people.
That's a very good point. I mean, it'd be worth us perhaps raising with our teams at Citizens Advisors, because I think the way people use digital, in particular, like somebody might have years ago had volumes and volumes of photograph albums, but they're all on the phone now, aren't they?
Exactly. And it's tragic if they lose access.
Lost somebody in the family and a whole raft of precious photos on their phone or whatever.
But of course, it's not just that, is it? We all know that practical banking kicks in with a lot of families, and there are shared information that shouldn't be shared, in order to access accounts and see what's going on. But that can be an absolute minefield for
people. Of course, digital banking as well.
So I think it's a good one to
think through,
to promote and make people aware of, really.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Anne. Any questions for Anne at all? No. Okay, I've got Vicky next on my screen. Would you like to just give us a back, Vicky, who was away for a little while, but how are you finding it with on the Hereford team at the moment?
I've been obviously, as Sonia said, quite out of the loop. I wasn't at the last meeting, and I was off early November last year through to February, having a knee replacement. So we are coming back. Obviously, the rest of the team have been really kind of supporting me, and we are perhaps not quite as busy as we were, for reasons which Rachel will be able to explain when it comes to her part. In terms of referrals from the Macmillan Renton unit at the county hospital. I have had a query about the changes to PIP, the 4-point business, where you at PIP review, if you don't score 4 points on at least one of the daily living parts, then you won't get your daily living PIPs. I've had one query about that. Haven't had any other general queries about the changes to come, but I think we probably will in time as it unfolds.
It is early, and possibly it will affect our generalist team a little bit more. But yes, as Andrew said, there are certain points that will be relevant to our team. Okay. No, that's great. Thank you very much, Vicky. It's just I think both our Worcester and Hereford teams, we trying to get through as many referrals as possible, but we've had resource issues with both teams. It is tricky because it's so time critical for our clients, and we realise that, but hopefully we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel once we get the admin to do this stuff. Okay, thank you. Right, Sharon, would you like to give us an update of what's happening with your role?
So as I said, we are working in cancer prevention in primary care on behalf of all the GP practices. So I do regular bowel screening. So people who get the bowel screening test through the post and do not respond, do not do it. They get coded. So then I send a text message with lots of information, a video, contact information, so they can get a new screening test, so they can get a new fit test. And for the people who don't have a mobile phone, I will give them a call and see if I can have a conversation. One of the most difficult things, people do not want to talk about it. People, if they've decided they don't want to do it, very, very difficult to get them to do it. We can but try. The uptake is quite minimal, but we just keep going with it because we know it's worth it. And even if, one or two people decide to do the test and, it works out for them that they've done it, then, so be it. But it's very, very difficult to engage with these people. Likewise, the cervical screening. So people with a cervix who haven't had cervical screening, I call them and have a conversation, book them in with our nurses. We are working with the LGBTQ plus community, the trans community, trying to engage them with healthcare better. Help them to better access healthcare. So we're doing that at the moment. We've got an event on at Huntington Hall this Sunday, where there are workshops. It's an open event for the community to showcase themselves and what they're about. So that's really interesting. And what we'll be doing there is offering them blood pressure tests, blood pressure checks, and then I will be booking them in with any one of our team who, if they want any to see a nurse, or they want to do their screening, or they want to, see a dietitian or whatever it might be. We've got the services that we can book these people in. So, it is difficult, but we have to start somewhere. So we'll be at that on Sunday. I'm also working with Mags, the homeless shelter as well. Trying to get those people into appointments and any symptoms or anything like that. This is all health inequalities, basically. A lot of what I do is health inequalities. We've got an event on at Oasis Hub on Easter Sunday in Warndon, and I'm quite engaged with Lippard Hub as well, with various groups they've got there. So talking to people about screening, bowel screening, prostate cancer as well, which a lot of men are not aware of. The blood, the PSA blood tests and things like that. So it's all about raising awareness. So, yeah.
No, that's great, because I think it ties in with everything. You see a lot of the charities advertising on telly at the moment about awareness as well, don't you? So yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Sharon. Hey, Rachel, would you like to give us some data on your unit there at the hospital?
Yeah, we're going through a transitional stage. We sadly lost 2 full-time support workers, which means we don't have the capacity to do HNAs, which is a huge loss to patient support. So therefore, at the moment, we're having to try and reinvent ourselves as to how we've got the drop-in, obviously, at the information centre, but there's been a huge knock-on effect to the clinical nursing teams. We're all trying to re-establish how we can best support the patient, given the capacity that all the clinical nursing teams have, how they feed back into me, because it's me, myself, and I at the moment. So I obviously I can't provide the whole holistic support, but what I can do is, bite-sized support, signposting. So of always the Macmillan Citizens Advice team are always so supportive. So they've sort of reached out, and they've sort of volunteered that they're thinking of ways that they can support me to get the financial support for these patients, because the holistic needs assessments did identify a lot of financial need, and we've lost that. So unless they drop in, I can't let them know about it unless the CNSs have time to speak with them about it. They don't highlight it. So we will be thinking, we are thinking hard about how we can provide those services and make patients aware that financial service is available to them.
yes, it's a difficult time, isn't it? I think what we've seen from Macmillan is reduction in funding in all sorts of areas, and right from their national services to all of the local projects. So yes, it might. Yeah, you've been very supportive of us over our times of resource shortages. So I know Vicky, Ruth, and Joe are sort of making a plan to support you at the hospital as well. So hopefully continue to work together. That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Rachel. That's good. Jeanette, would you like to come in there with?
I can, yeah. Sorry, just going on the back of what you said, Rachel, with regards to HNAs and loss of 2 support workers. Which specialties were they from?
So if I exclude the 2, then it's all the others. So we have a part-time support worker for urology. We have a part-time support worker for skin. All the others, no support workers. So we've lost them for every other site.
Is this specific to PCFU?
Sorry?
Is that specific to PCFU? Follow-ups?
No, it's the holistic needs assessments were done right from the testing, diagnosis, all the way through.
And is there any kind of plans to actually fill those posts at all, or
No,
as in get anyone? No. Okay.
no. In the time that I was putting a case together, and I had the case ready, it was advised not to present it, and we knocked on other doors everywhere we could think of. We knocked on doors to see where funding could be to retain these positions. One support worker has been in the cancer services for 20 years, and she was dropped like a lead balloon. So I'm not best pleased at the moment, as you probably gather. A wealth of knowledge, a wealth of patient support. But yeah, the holistic needs assessments, there could be per patient up to 3 offered, depending on that. So it could be offered right at the beginning when their pathway first starts, somewhere in the middle, and at the end, because circumstances does change. So yeah, we sort of followed them all the way through.
So, sorry for asking. The only reason I do ask is because I manage the Living with and Beyond Cancer programme, and so part of that obviously is working with both Hereford and Worcester. And part of that personalised care is around end of treatment summaries and HNAs and cancer care reviews. So that was the reason for me asking around that. But yeah,
I know Natalie's working hard to look at re-engaging the clinical nursing staff back into HNAs. So I know she's working hard with that. It's a negotiation around capacity, as always, isn't it?
I think it's really sad because from a personalised centred follow-up pathway, part of the direction of travel was that actually in order to deliver that pathway, you actually needed that support worker in post to kind of do the kind of crucial parts of it to then free up the capacity for the CNSs.
Yeah.
So if actually you're taking away that support and then saying actually the CNS has got to do that in addition, that's a lot of work.
It is, and it was a well-oiled machine. We had it running very succinctly and very well, and we worked really hard to set up that really good working relationship with the clinical nursing team. So we felt we'd got to a point where we were picking up all that was necessary for the patient support, that holistic support.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'm not a negative person. We're just at a transitional stage where we've really got, the last thing I want is that patients don't know about the financial support that they can get. And the drop-in centre is always open. It's 5 days a week with the door always open, and we capture a lot of people because it's right next to the treatment areas. But there's still a lot that's picked up through anxiety when it comes to nursing teams recognizing that and referring into our team.
I don't know whether it makes, I'm really sorry to kind of take the agenda on you and just track it to the HNAs, but I know people do EHNAs, which I know takes a lot of the work out of
Yeah.
kind of the whole process of printing the format, sending the format, and a lot of that admin function. So I don't know whether it would help the CNSs if they went down the EHNA route.
I've been in here almost 2 years now. I understand it was something that was being done, but with the systems we use in Hereford, it wasn't picking up. So there were about 3 systems that the support workers had to work and feed into. The HNAs weren't being picked up. The numbers had really declined, as I understand it, for picking up patients. And it was really interesting because coming in, you want to re-explore those avenues. And so as part of that, I went across to Worcester, and I know that Claire, Arthur, and Ange and their team, I sort of tailed the end of their meeting where they were discussing it, and it was interesting. And I don't want to talk for them, but they were finding they were trialing it, and it wasn't going as well as they'd hoped it would go. But I don't want to speak for them because they need to feed that in. And it was just interesting to get their take on it again. They were losing numbers, so we might have to go back and readdress that, because that's probably what we've got on offer to us.
So I know Worcestershire uses Somerset, don't they, to capture their EHNAs, but I know that obviously Hereford use Infoflex, so
yes, and that was the issue.
Different. And yeah, I won't go down the whole IT route, but yeah, I do think, from my understanding, that Hereford have got a more complex system because it attaches to Maxims and whatever else, so it's not a straightforward process. But
yeah. It's not
Sonia,
off the table. And again, with the support workers, we've lost that chance to do the Hope course, face-to-face Hope courses and all of that. So at least, we've now got the option of the online Hope courses that we can offer them. So
it sounds like a huge period of change, and yes, ladies, it's a complex area by the sound of it. So yeah. Yeah, so Jeanette, yourself, anything new happening in obviously the Living Well area or anything like that?
So we've got lots of things going on with regards to PCFUs and potential launch of Varian starting up in April, May time, I believe. We've also got the psychosocial element that we're working with West Midlands Cancer Alliance with, because there was a report that was done back in 2023 which identified the gaps in service provision across the ICB. So we're working with them to try and close some of those gaps that have been addressed, and work around prehab as well with West Midlands Cancer Alliance, and trying to actually embed the use of prehab for those cancer patients. I think that's it for the time being, I think.
That's enough. Lots going on. Yes, thank you, Jeanette. That was great. Di, I've just seen you there. Hi. Do you want to? We sort of done most of the other participants. Do you want to just say what's going on in your world?
Yes, hello. Sorry I haven't been for a while, and sorry I'm late. I teach Pilates, so I'm in a tennis club at the moment. Yes, at the moment we're doing quite a bit. So I have currently 2 cancer-specific face-to-face classes going on. One in Worcester City, which is at Claines Lane Football Ground. A newish one in Stourport. That has been funded by Macmillan for 30 weeks. We're getting to the end of that funding, but we're starting to see some good referrals through. So I've had 2 this week, additional. So they're both hoping to come to Stourport tomorrow. So at the moment, I'm looking for funding options through Worcestershire County Council grants. There's a physical activity grant. So I'm going through that at the moment. I also do a prostate cancer specific Zoom class on a Monday, and we have the walking football that if anybody knows anybody, we need some more players, so that would be great. I do also get a few. It was interesting hearing about the HNAs, because I think I get a few that are as a result of probably HNA conversations with Macmillan, and it isn't always somebody that wants physical activity. Sometimes it might be just somebody that wants to talk about options and get some affirmation around what they're doing already. So that doesn't always result in somebody coming to a class, but it results in a conversation. and hopefully the person then feeling better. This week as well, you mentioned prehab. We have had somebody come to the class from the lung CNS specifically for prehab. So she's got her operation coming up when she's strong enough to do it. So we managed to combine that within the class as well. So yes, there's quite a lot going on. I just need a phone.
Yeah. So where do your referrals come from generally? Is it
mainly from Macmillan?
Yeah.
So Caroline and Claire are good.
Yeah.
Jo Stallard from the counselling service.
Yeah.
I've had a few from her, but also Rebecca Wenham, who is the cancer care coordinator for the primary care within the Stourport area.
Yeah.
She, as soon as somebody is diagnosed, she sends out the information as well. So we've had quite a few from her. She's also been to the class to participate so that she could see what it was like, because I think initially she couldn't quite see how I managed to combine different ability levels and different tumour groups in the same class. But I can, and it does work really well. It also means that some of the people for whom there isn't a support group can use it as the support group option, because we do exercise for 45 minutes. We then do social catch-up support for 45 minutes. So we take refreshments in, there's teas and coffees, and people just sit around and have a chat and get things off their chest. So it does work really, really well.
Do you think that's really valuable time for people to just decompress and talk about it? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, yes, I mean, I'll let Andrew had to leave early, but obviously he sees majority of our Worcester City clients, and Lisa's heard what you've said as well. So if we talk to appropriate people, we can either feed onto you or signpost. Yeah, so that's lovely. Thank you, Di. Yeah.
Thank you.
So anybody got anything else they would like to raise or ask another person that's in the meeting today? Yeah. Go on.
Di, I'd like to know more about how to refer patients into you to these exercise classes, because I'm sure, I mean, whilst we have exercise classes at Kemp, it might be nice, I do occasionally get people that aren't day hospice patients as such, and I help them. So it'd be interesting to know how I refer them and what the criteria is.
In terms of referring them, just either get in touch with me directly or give my details out to them and they can get in touch with me directly.
I need those details then.
Yeah. I'll pass them back to the person that invited me to the meeting, and then they can forward them on.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
The criteria, it's fairly broad. So the only thing that I would be wary about is if there was something like bone mets. So that doesn't necessarily preclude them, but it depends where they are, how stable they are, etc., and how likely they are to try and push themselves or do what they're advised. So each case I then assess as to whether it's safe or not. But just the fact that they are stage 4 doesn't preclude them.
Is it only based for Worcester patients, or where are you based?
I'm based personally in Fernal Heath, so the Worcester classes are at Claines Lane, which is the Droitwich between on the Worcester edge on the Droitwich side. I then do the classes at the Stourport Sports Club, which is the one just off Kingsway. But people do come from Bromsgrove, they come from Malvern.
I was thinking because we often have Malvern patients, so I was just wondering if that's.
That's absolutely fine. It's just it's whether the travel is acceptable to them. But if it is, then yes, that's not a problem from as far as I'm concerned.
Sonia, would you mind sharing those details?
Share the details.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I should also say as well, at the moment, the Worcester class is free because it's funded by a previous participant who, loved it so much he wanted to make sure that other people could enjoy it. The Stourport one, we're looking for funding. So it could be that as part of that funding agreement, we might need to charge a voluntary donation of £2 to £3. But I very much don't want cost to ever be a barrier. So if that was going to be difficult for somebody, then they wouldn't have to pay. And at the moment, it's free of charge.
you very much. That sounds like that's got some interest there. Yeah. So, anything else from anyone? Lisa Dane, yeah, go on.
Hello, sorry, yeah. I suppose really, obviously, what we were talking about earlier regarding benefits, because that's, sort of our main thing. But also just to make everyone aware that obviously the Macmillan grant is no longer available.
Yes.
And previously we also had the option to signpost to the Age UK household support funding. That has also hopefully temporary, but that has also ended. So yeah, it's just updating people on that really. Yeah, there is no sort of financial. I mean, obviously we can go to the general Turn to Us website and have a look. If people had any previous occupations, there may be some grants there. But other than the, I think it's the Worcestershire. I'm trying to remember the name of it. The Worcestershire Cancer Aid, but that's more for a specific item. But yeah, so financially, yeah, people that there aren't as much.
I don't know if anybody's aware. I got one chat was absolutely desperate, sort of food banks and things like that. But within one day, Leukemia Care is offering household a one-off grant.
Right.
It was a very smooth, very supported process. But Leukemia Care was a very good one. It's probably open for as long as they can provide, but at the moment it's open.
Right, thank you for that. Yeah, because I'm just, like I said, having had two lots of options available, to suddenly have none at all. Well, not none, but definitely losing those two main sort of financial assistance. It's it's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, it does reduce the options a lot then with the Macmillan grants going as well. Yeah, thank you, Lisa Jane. I should have mentioned that. Thanks for bringing it up. Okay,
yeah.
And Anne.
I must admit, I'm struggling with getting financial support for, a client moving house, moving into a property and needing help with moving expenses. And they've got absolutely nothing. And they're moving into a property with no carpets. And yeah, I would have gone Macmillan grant really, but it's really difficult, like you say. And it's the speed that is often the barrier.
Whereabouts do they live? Where do they don't live by any chance in Stafford?
No, it's they're moving to Malvern, so it's out of the Wire Forest, which makes it more difficult for me.
It's a possibility. I mean, I'm not sure Malvern Council's criteria, but
the household support fund.
Yeah, household support fund or discretionary housing payment sometimes cover living expenses.
That's the way I've pushed them to apply for the discretionary housing payment and the household support fund. But like I say, ordinarily it would have been
got the Macmillan grant,
a Macmillan fund, a grant for speed.
Yeah,
so it's the speed really.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Thank you.
There is just a quickie. There is the Armchair Worcester that may cover Malvern.
Oh right, Armchair Worcester.
I mean, for furniture.
Yeah. Brilliant. I think the issue might be they've got too much furniture where they are at the moment. They need to get rid of some of it. It's hence the needing a skip. And the skip costs are really high, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, but thank you for that. I should keep that one in my little black book. A lot of
very useful information shared this meeting. Thank you, everyone. Okay. I think we're probably ready to round up then. As we said, we're sort of going to go 4 monthly now because obviously we're all so busy. It's great to take time out, but it's just really busy in all of our schedules. So 4 months will take us to May, June, July, August. I mean, August, we could set a date. It might hit on various people's holidays, but perhaps if we set August the 6th And I'll send a reminder a little bit nearer the time, just in case there's a lot of people on summer holidays, and we could reschedule. But yeah, we're penciling August the 6th, the same time, 10:30. I'll send down the various contact details and the recording link, so you can have a look at the recording on if the bits you wanted, and for those that couldn't attend. So with that, everybody, unless there's anything else, I will bid you goodbye and wish you a lovely day. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.